At the start of 2019, the IIRC entered its global momentum phase. The factors that helped us to achieve this milestone in our global development after just 7 years since the beginning of the integrated reporting movement include the great global megatrends of financial stability and sustainable development. It really is impossible to consider the movement in corporate reporting without considering a response to these megatrends. Another key trend has been the inexorable shift in the world towards a more intangible economy, where now over 80% of the resources of a business that it uses to create value are in that intangible world, the human capital, the intellectual and social and reputational capital. So these megatrends have had a huge impact in shifting the dialogue within companies and capital markets towards integrated reporting. We're also seeing a number of big system shifts in the world. The first affects the global economy, a shift from a focus on singular and narrow financial matters to a more inclusive model of corporate governance, taking into account what we call the 6 capitals of human and intellectual capital, social and relationship capital, and natural capital, alongside the traditional financial and manufactured capitals. In a capital markets sense, there is now an increased demand to shift from narrow short-term thinking and reporting towards long-term thinking and reporting and long-term value creation. And in the narrower corporate reporting world, we're seeing an increased shift from silo reporting to integrated reporting. Nowhere are these shifts more marked than in Malaysia, and we are extremely grateful to the work over many years of the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, MIA, who have led the drive both in terms of advocacy and adoption in its own right of integrated reporting across the Malaysian market. And what we're seeing in Malaysia today is not just increased momentum, but a tipping point. 100 or more companies are now adopting integrated reporting in the Malaysian market, thanks to the new Corporate Governance Code introduced in 2017, with its recommendation to the largest companies in Malaysia to adopt integrated reporting. It is our ambition to see that number of adopters rise significantly in 2019 as ASEAN becomes a major strategic effort for the integrated reporting movement globally. We look forward to working with MIA and all the stakeholders here in Malaysia to make this vision a reality. So we're aware from speaking to many companies around the world that there is a feeling that the corporate reporting landscape is confused and that there is a perception of inconsistency between the different frameworks and standards in the corporate reporting environment. That's why the IIRC convened the Corporate Reporting Dialogue to help bring about much greater consistency and coherence in the corporate reporting landscape, to try and get rid of some of the inconsistencies that exist between the different frameworks and standards, and see if we can apply some common definitions that will help the market to adopt both integrated reporting, but also some of the other standards in the non-financial reporting and ESG agenda. At the beginning of 2019, a major new 2-year project has been launched under the auspices of the Corporate Reporting Dialogue that brings in the financial and non-financial reporting global standard setters on corporate reporting. And this project is aligned to the recommendations of the Financial Stability Board Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, which has recommended that companies not only produce information about climate risk, but integrate that within their existing risk and financial reporting systems. In order to get there, the market needs a much clearer understanding of how the different frameworks and standards work together, and a landscape to help the corporate community navigate the corporate reporting system and adopt the recommendations of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. So in early 2019, the Corporate Reporting Dialogue has been conducting a global consultation with companies, with investors, with regulators and standard setters around the world to understand what the perception is of the corporate reporting landscape and how the corporate reporting landscape can be advanced to help companies to adopt the recommendations of the TCFD. We've been delighted that the Malaysian Institute of Accountants has held one of the 25 global roundtables, bringing together leading Malaysian companies so that they can have input into this global process. We're hopeful now of getting the input that we need from the market to help make recommendations that will form part of a paper that will be published in September 2019 that will begin the process of formulating a landscape map to help demonstrate the linkages between the different frameworks to help the market adopt the recommendations of the TCFD. We're extremely grateful to all the companies in Malaysia that have participated in this consultation to ensure that it's a genuinely global effort to improve the quality of disclosure in the world today. Investors are an absolutely key audience of integrated reporting and corporate reporting more generally. Why is it that investors are so interested in integrated reporting? Well, first of all, it helps the investors to discover the price of companies because much more information and transparency in the market supports investors in understanding the value creation potential of the company and helps them to allocate capital more productively and more efficiently. Research from Nanyang University in Singapore, exploring the experience of the South African market, shows that there is a distinct correlation between companies that are adopting integrated reporting and share price performance. So there is a real benefit for investors in terms of performance of share prices in investing in companies that are producing integrated reports. And the third major benefit for investors is that it changes the quality of dialogue between the investor and the company, particularly the board and top management of companies. Because companies that produce integrated reports are explaining much more about their strategy and their business model, how they are using the different resources that help them to create value over time. So for long-term investors and pension funds, or perhaps for sovereign wealth funds, integrated reporting becomes a key tool for helping to understand what motivates the business over the short, medium and long term and drives better quality investment and better quality dialogue between the company and the investor. There are so many recent examples of good practice in integrated reporting from all over the world. One of the most significant is actually coming in the form of the New Zealand government, that for the first time in 2019 will be issuing a multi-capital budget. They're aligning the performance of the entire economy of New Zealand towards thinking about multi-capitals, no longer just reporting on the financial results of the New Zealand economy, but also on the social capital, the intellectual capital, and the impact of natural capital to help build more improved living standards for the people of New Zealand. We're also seeing that the development of the Sustainable Development Goals, companies are using integrated reporting to align their strategy to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the leading companies in the Asian region that is achieving this is City Developments Limited, listed in Singapore. For the first time in the last year, City Developments has been using the integrated reporting framework to help report against its progress towards achieving the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And this is now integral to the strategy of City Developments. We're also seeing some remarkable improvements in the corporate reporting landscape in the United States with the setting up of the first network in the United States on integrated reporting. And now over 20 large listed companies in the US, including Intel and Jones Lang LaSalle, are now reporting using the integrated reporting framework. So these developments are global, they are systemic, and they are responding to the big megatrends in the world of a multi-capital world and sustainable development. Integrated thinking and integrated reporting are self-reinforcing and virtuous cycles. Integrated thinking is really the process that leads to the production of an integrated report. It is intended to demonstrate the connectivity between the different resources that are used by the company, what we call in integrated reporting framework, the capitals. It is also used by management to break down the silos within organisations between operational divisions, to help them to see the connections and linkages between the different performance units within the company. So integrated thinking is absolutely integral to the process of integrated reporting, telling a clear and concise narrative about how the company creates value over time. Companies that are embarking on the journey towards integrated reporting now have many resources at their disposal to help them start on that journey. The South African Institute of Chartered Accountants has produced a Getting Started guide, which has done so much to spur the development of integrated reporting in the South African market. The IIRC has got on its website not only the integrated reporting framework, which we would advise all companies to start looking at and examining to see whether they can align their reporting to the principles of the framework. But we also have on our website the Integrated Reporting Database, a database of many hundreds of companies from around the world and in different sectors that are adopting integrated reporting. So companies that are new to integrated reporting can learn from the very best practice in the world today, how to adopt the principles of integrated reporting and really learn from the leaders of the pack. There are also local networks, local committees in different markets around the world, not least here in Malaysia, led by the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, that has a steering committee which is multi-stakeholder, bringing in businesses and investors and the regulatory community to really examine how the global principles of integrated reporting can be applied in a local business context and a local regulatory environment. So we would encourage companies to look at the framework, see how it can be applied in a local context, contact the Malaysian Institute of Accountants to see if they can help guide you on that journey to integrated reporting. Look at the best practice from companies in your sector and see if you can learn from those good examples. And look at the best practice guides on getting started from around the world, because they really will help you to improve your reporting, which is about good governance in the 21st century.